Life is about taking risks. If you don't take risks, why even live, you know? And what fun is it to walk around on a rubber world and be afraid of everything? You got to go out there and try to outdo people, because then it's just progression of the world. It makes it more fun to live. You're gonna go big, the next guy's gonna try to go bigger, and that's what it's all about.
Damien was one of the most comfortable people in the air, for sure at that point, and probably to this day. I mean, he just had a sense about him in the air where he was just totally comfortable up there.
Damien was real influential and go on building jumps and having fun and getting footage and just riding, you know. We just loved to ride.
Damien Sanders was so much fun to watch because he had just incredible style in the air. Like, you know, pretty much no one touched his style for years. When the video realm came in, it was kind of like Damien was on top of that.
There's this one shot in Snowboarders in Exile where the camera's like real low and it's looking up at Damien and he's just like pointing up, and like that's how I felt. It was like, that's Damien.
Well, the first time I saw Damien, I was actually still in high school, and I knew Damien from, he lived near where I grew up in an area called Calaveras County, and he had a big quarter pipe at his house, which is like a half-hour away. So we'd skate, and then the first time I saw him snowboarding was in Iron Mountain in probably '85, and I remember they were all riding these avalanche snowboards, and they were kind of really stiff ironing boards. And I watched Damien ride down the hill, and he grabbed a lift tower, and he grabbed it, and he spun around 360, like a couple inches off the ground, and I was like, wow, he's so good. That guy's spectacular. He's got good hair. I think he was just like the city kid who moved to the hills, and so he had spiky blonde hair and spiderweb eyeliner. So Damien learned how to fight really quick.
I was moving from San Jose, where I lived as a city boy kid, you know, skateboarder and stuff, and I was young, 13 years old, and we were moving up to Bear Valley, and I wanted to buy a Burton snowboard. It's the only snowboard company that even existed or that I knew about back then. And my brother told my mom to hold off because he was going to make a snowboard. He had a little wood shop going, and sure enough, I got that snowboard, the first one he ever made, the first avalanche ever in '83. We went up to the local mountain. I made about 6 or 8 turns on my first run ever, just in the powder, just bouncing turns, and it was flipping my lid, thinking it was the best thing that ever invented. There was a competition at Soda Springs, the World Championships, and this would have been about '85. And I didn't even know there was another snowboarder in the world, let alone have a world championship. So I went over to that, and I remember walking around the corner from the parking lot, and I saw about 50 boards lined up in front of this, you know, the lodge, and I about shit my pants. I couldn't believe there was 50 other snowboarders in the world. And so I went into the lodge, and everybody's, you know, all the same type of people, all these surf rat-looking guys, skaters. And back then, if you snowboarded and somebody else snowboarded, you were instantly friends because there was so few of us. I had way more balls and brains back then, so I would hit any jump just for people to go, holy shit, you see that kid fly off that jump. And I had a little white mohawk, and I just dressed like a little new wave fag. So I was hitting all the jumps I could, and just to show off, I would break my neck to show off. And sure enough, I ended up in the hospital on that Soda Springs competition, but it was pretty fun doing it.
Damien was one of the most ballsiest people that's ever been involved in snowboarding. And to this day, dude, you can look back at his footage from like 20 plus years ago, and like it's fully legit. Like the guy was jumping off 60-foot cliffs for fun. And like I would go up and riding at Squaw, and I'd just be like taking runs with my boys and look up, and there's Damien popping off mainline going like 50 feet for the hell of it, you know? And you're like, damn, dude, like what's up with that guy? Like he's freaking nuts. Yeah, I saw him bust out some stuff. No cameras, just gigantic. For fun, that's killer, man. I love that. That just shows you what's in someone's heart, you know?
What do you think the silliest snowboarding trick is?
Every trick I did last year. When people started flipping, that was a huge deal. The first flips ever, we were all on this little jump, actually at Donner Ski Ranch. It was right underneath the chairlift, and it was like a little ski jump kicker. I think it was Steve Graham, myself. Steve was a nut. He would do anything, anytime. I remember trying it over and over again and doing 3/4 of a flip so many times, just clearing my head and smacking the snow again and again. And then finally one time it came all the way around, landed on my feet, and I about shit myself. Mom, I'm still standing. Rode away from it, and then you started, you know, getting bigger and bigger, and then I started laying them out. And then once you could lay it out and control your spin, then you'd sit there upside down going, do I want to pull around yet? You know, and then you can do it off of anything. So I was hucking huge airs off of, you know, cliffs or huge kickers and just stalling it out in the air and grabbing the board and poking it and just looking down at the ground. And back then it was so cool because no one could do it. You know, now it would be nothing, but it was cool at the time. There was guys that could flip before I could, but nobody was grabbing their board or anything. I think I invented like the iguana backflip and some other things where I was trying to grab different ways upside down. And that was like after doing flips for almost a year.
Damien, Squaw Valley doing massive iguana backflips, and it was ridiculous.
For a while, he was full grabbing wherever, like back here, but you couldn't even say shit because Damien was going 10 times bigger than anybody else. So like, I don't know, I still say that today, like, you know, if you're going 25 feet out of the half pipe and you just happen to just, you know, you just do the wackest grab, like, we'd be like, oh, that's gay. The dude's still going way bigger than you'll ever go, and it's insane. Like, at some point, you're just like, who gives a shit?
Damien was always my favorite rider. I still wish he was, you know, riding now. I'd love to ride with him. My funnest times ever riding was back in the early days in Tahoe, just chasing Damien, you know, and we were just a couple idiots that wouldn't look at, you know, anything. Just, what do you think? Oh yeah, mama! No landing, no, and just we pulled that off for a while, you know, and I don't know how I'm still even walking. I was taller. The scariest time I ever had snowboarding is really any day we go riding with Damien. Because, I mean, if there's anyone I've ever met, he's going the biggest, the highest, the fastest, pushes you.
I'd have to say Steve Graham was probably my favorite of all time because he was such a badass rider, and he would do anything at any time, hucking off of cliffs and stuff, and he really pushed me. He pushed me more than anybody ever did in snowboarding. We saw things different than other people did because we were both at the same talent, you know, caliber. We could see how you could hit a jump and fly 80 feet over there and land on the downhill of something else that nobody else could see because it was just out of their realm, you know. And I had more fun riding with him than anybody because of that.
I think that Steve Graham was a total catalyst to Damien because both those guys were like kind of out of their minds, where I think Damien had a lot more control of what he was doing, and Steve just went for it, you know, shoot first, ask questions later type of personality back then. And so those two, like, together, that's where, like, I think the sport really got pushed, with those two guys jumping off of things and flipping off of everything really big. Yeah, I guess that's the biggest thing I was influenced by.
For like personal style, I mean, it was Damien was the guy, you know, just because he was so unique. My hair was fully blonde, Damien style faux hawk kind of thing going. And I'd take the hairspray and like get it to go straight up, and I'd do this before I'd ride every day. And I'd like look in the mirror and I'd be like, yeah, Damien, it's pretty sick. And I saw how like Damien wrote his name in like all capital letters, and I was like, it was just Damien, that's all it was. And I was like, so I started signing my name that way. So I'd say he influenced me a little when I was a kid, yeah.
Getting all that popularity was so fun back then, especially when you're young. You're in your early 20s or late teens and everybody knows your name and everybody's, you know, oh, can I get your autograph?
Damien was a spectacle. In all those movies, he was the dude, you know, out backflipping the landing. Like, landing would just be gone. He'd land out in the flats or go bigger than anybody. He had like the penthouse chick. It was his girlfriend, and she was always like naked, and he was always trying to show you pictures of her without her clothes on. And he had the stupid hair, and he had a posse of like weird dudes dressed in black that may or may not have been women. I don't know. It was just like weirdness. But that was Damien, and it was just like, oh, here comes Damien.
He's definitely set himself out from the crowd. He had his Billy Idol hairdo and his headband, but that's just, you know, what was going on. Neon was in at that time. Damien was the guy you wanted in your house to have over for dinner because he's going to do the dishes before he leaves, you know. But his image might not have shown that to the public, you know.
Back then, snowboard clothes barely existed, and it was like we were wearing anything that we got off the street that we wore, you know, to a nightclub, or we were wearing leather jackets with logos on the back, you know, and it was pretty funny. And then anything that mixed with ski gear, because there was no such thing as snowboard company or snowboard gear yet.
I don't know. I think Damien kind of liked a couple of the pieces more than he lets you on to, you know. Like in Exile, he was wearing that one. It was like 4 colors. It was amazingly painful, but I don't know. It was just at that time, you know. 89 was just neon, and I see it come back like neon tie-dye, you know, and just, two things I really love.
We need someone like Damien in the industry still, especially someone that's got that much, you know, flair, and he's out there, but at the same time, you know, like, he could get along with anyone's grandparents as soon as they got over the fact that he had a friggin' mohawk. You know, he's just a nice dude.
Funny story about how Dana Nicholson and Jeff Miles and I met. I was with Palmer on the lift, and we're cruising up, and I see these two guys in leather jackets, black pants, and red berets. They look like total LA gangster type guys, you know. It was so fun, gangsters back in the day, with a little bit of fashion to them. So they're snowboarding underneath me, and I go, look at those guys are cool. And Sean Palmer's, oh, what a bag. And then I snowboard up to them, and I'm, how you guys doing? And they're all, hey, what's up? And they acted like they didn't know who I was. And so we started riding together, just because everybody kind of was friends back then. And come to find out, they traveled from Southern California all the way to this resort to meet me, because they knew I rode there, and they had seen me in magazines, and they're, oh, we want to ride with that guy. That guy should be our friend. And sure enough, you know, I just saw them, and these guys are cool. So the rest was history. We ended up being friends for 25 years now.
Yeah.
Threesome and never left each other's sides. We traveled the world like that.
Little kid.
Like a little girl. I was probably 19, 18. No, I didn't learn how to drive
you
yet.
were 16 right
16,
there,
I
dude.
didn't learn how to drive.
That was, look at you. You look like a Fruit Loop right there. Like, look at, I got
Pink pants.
Hey, I got pink pants on, but he looks like a Fruit Loop. Look,
Look at that look. Holy shit, that's Dana.
look at Factory
20 years
Oakley's,
ago.
dude.
Look at your color scheme. Holy shit.
Dude, I want to. Somebody should have pulled me aside.
Look
And,
at those gloves. What the fuck am I wearing, Mr. Roboto?
oh, holy shit! Look at those things, dude.
Look at those outfits.
shit.
That's some good looking clothes.
Yeah, that's solid. Look at your little pink with the white and black fucking Boy George shit.
It's
And the white shades.
We were like Wham. This was at the first competition that I ever went to. When I told you I went to Soda Springs, that's from that competition. That's my style back then. You got like no high backs, and there's just little straps holding my feet on these little piece of shit bindings.
That's a frog suit for sure, dude.
Yeah.
Damn.
I don't even know how we came up with this. Well, when we had racing back in the day, everybody thought you had to wear these speed suits to race. You know, like you might shave a quarter of a second off of your time, like it mattered.
Did it work?
And no, it never worked. So, and then what happened is I put this on, and then I had a shirt over it or a jacket, and then somebody took a picture of it, and it ended up in a magazine. And then every single time we had a photo shoot, they're like, could you wear the green outfit? That photographed real well. Fuck, the green outfit again. That's got a Donner ticket on it.
Yeah, okay.
That means another photo shoot probably 15 years ago at Donner Ski Ranch.
That's me.
That's Dana. So we used to have to take our shells off because there was the hard boot shells, and we'd walk around in the inner liners, and then when you got to the resort, you'd put your
But the
shells
thing
on.
is, dude, we'd ride these fucking ironing boards, and we killed everybody on the hard boots. We just crushed them.
This came out, I remember I was so pissed because this was the first time I'd ever grabbed the board on a backflip, and my leg blocked it, and so I was like, fuck, nobody's gonna know. And back then it mattered so much what your friends thought about if you were the first guy to do a grab backflip or something.
The
Pretty
rocket
gay.
fucking
Fall line
twister.
posters. Yeah. Oh, I was stoked when this came out. This ad came out, and it was right across the street. This was in Carmel or something, but they had one right across the street where we were hanging out at the beach. And we'd go down to the beach, and I'd be able to go, hey, check it out over there. Look at that billboard.
Yeah,
that's me, baby.
That was back in the day. Oh, some funny shit, dude. Seeing this shit again.
Here's why I was trying to be a rock star for about 10 years there.
Yeah,
That's the necklace I was talking about. You can take
Oh,
off
that
and
was
tie
your
yourself.
Danzig thing, huh?
My Danzig necklace.
That was your Danzig period.
Danzig. God, every outfit's gayer than the last.
Yeah, that paid the bills
Yeah.
up. Holy
That
shit.
hairdo. And more gay.
Look at that.
Super gay. Good and fruity. It's perfect, huh?